Okay, folks, they'll be breaking for lunch here pretty soon. This is the normal
All right,
routine.
ladies and gentlemen, we have a good breaking point. So if you would please retire to the jury room. I believe we may have lunch available again today, Dallas County. And so at this time we will recess, and we will let you know if we'll be proceeding further today. But right now we will go ahead and recess.
All right.
I didn't catch her say what time she was having us back, but okay, I'm going to assume maybe it's 1:15ish like she did yesterday, or probably about an hour. But we just heard testimony, Meredith, from the medical examiner, and I think it was really interesting. You know, he was saying that but for the investigative information that they had, that this would have been ruled undetermined. And the defense obviously made a big deal of that. What do you make of it? I'm not hearing her in my ear. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Are we hearing? Story of our lives, guys. Technical difficulty. Battery died. All right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to wrap this up. And then when we get back, we'll have Meredith kind of talk through it. But so as you folks saw, we wrapped up with the medical examiner's testimony, who described the particular hemorrhages that he found on Lou Harris's body. But he also said, I think it's really important to note that but for the investigative information, that this case would have been ruled undetermined, that they would not have been able to reach a conclusion that this was homicide. And I'm guessing what Meredith will say, based on some of the conversation, the back and forth we were having as we were listening to the testimony, is that Mary Bartell's testimony is really important, because Mary Bartell describes being smothered with a pillow. And I think also just the fact that he is found with all of Lou Harris's jewelry and other items and these $2 bills, that it's a very tight timeline between when she is in the Walmart at the same time as he is, and when her body is found. And I also want to talk a little bit about the testimony from her son-in-law. I thought that testimony was really compelling. You got a sense of who she is. I honestly didn't know much about her, but to hear that she had come here to this country from Vietnam, that she had a restaurant in Saigon, that she met her husband there, that she fled the country on a helicopter, and that her and her husband lived for decades in, I think they said, Tanzania. I mean, just an amazing life story, and then to know how her life ended, it was really heartbreaking. And the key points I think out of that testimony was we heard, we had the son-in-law identify this property, this green emerald ring, a gold bracelet, a necklace that had the name Kim on it. Kim was the name that she actually went by. And items like that. And of course, he also identified the jewelry box. The jewelry box, he was found throwing away at the time that he's arrested. And then these $2 bills. I know yesterday, as I was watching them show the property that was found in his possession, I was trying to figure out the $2 bills. Thought that was really odd. $2 bills is not something you might have one. I mean, I haven't had a $2 bill in my possession in years, so I thought it really struck me yesterday, and I couldn't figure out, why was the $2 bills going to be important? Well, now I know. Lou Harris kept $2 bills. She gave $2 bills as gifts to people for their birthdays and that sort of thing. So really what you see, I think, is the prosecution putting the finishing touches on. Oh, Meredith is back. Okay, Meredith. I just chit-chatted here for a while.
You don't need me.
No, it's all good. So just a couple of questions, and then we'll have lunch ourselves. What did you make of the medical examiner's testimony?
I thought it was very interesting. I thought that when I was listening to it, I was like, yeah, if he said there might not have even been an autopsy if they hadn't suspected that something was really wrong. I mean, they come in there, they see the pillow, they see the lipstick smeared. Do they automatically assume it's a murder, or do they just think, oh, well, she might have had a heart attack or a stroke and fallen over? You know, without the other pieces of the puzzle, you might just think that that's what happened. It was a, you know, natural death that was just very unfortunate. Had we not had Mary Bartell's testimony about what happened to her, I don't know that we could have necessarily put the pieces together like we have.
Yeah, and I also think that him having Lou Harris's possessions, you know, the $2 bills, and that's one of the things I was talking about when you were, as they were trying to fix your mic, is that those $2 bills yesterday, I was trying to figure out what's the deal with the $2 bills that they found in his car, and now we know she gave those away as gifts. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that the defense attorneys did an effective job of raising doubt there?
Yes, I do. I mean, that medical examiner's testimony had a lot of good things for the defense, especially when now the prosecutors have to prove what's in their indictment, the elements of the case beyond a reasonable doubt. One of the elements in this case is that they have to prove how the manner, how she died. And so smothering with a pillow by using hands or a deadly weapon, an object unknown to the grand jury. They can put all of those in there, but they have to prove one of those ways that he killed her. And so with the medical examiner's testimony about, well, it could have been smothering, but, you know, we just don't know. And scientists and, you know, experts don't like to be pinned down on anything. You give them a hypothetical, could it have been this pillow? And he's like, well, I really can't say for sure. You know, but definitely when he says, okay, taken in combined with all the other evidence, we call it the totality of the evidence, I can say, yeah, it's possible that she was smothered, but no one can say for sure. And that's what the defense is going to be able to argue, is that we can't be assured beyond a reasonable doubt that that's exactly how she died. I mean, it could have been an accident, and maybe this guy broke into her house and found her dead and took her stuff and left, and, you know, maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But if it's reasonable, then you can have reasonable doubt.
Hey, Tina, what's the question? Oh, okay. Yeah, so somebody on YouTube is asking, will Billy Chemirmir take the stand? Do you think he takes a stand?
I don't see it. From a professional
would
legal
you put him
standpoint.
on the stand?
No, I mean, it just depends. You know, you would think that he would take the stand. Obviously, everybody would want him to take the stand, but there's a million reasons why he shouldn't take the stand. And, you know, it's up to the state to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not up to Billy Chemirmir to prove his innocence. But we all know that, you know, the saying is if I was accused of something I didn't do, wild horses couldn't keep me off that stand. I'd be screaming I was not guilty from the rooftops. So, you know, he only takes the stand if he absolutely has to, that there's something important that he has to say that can't come out through any other witness. But, you know, in a circumstantial case, is he shooting himself in the foot to take the stand? Possibly.
Okay, so Rebecca Lopez is going to call me, and we're going to do a phoner with Rebecca. We can't exactly take her perfectly live, so I am going to put my mic. Okay, we're gonna try this, guys. Let me see. Let me turn her up. Rebecca.
Hey.
Well, you're joining us here on YouTube Nation and live on our website. Talk to us about what you saw today.
Well, before I do that, just real quickly, the judge recessed for today. I don't know if you guys knew that, but there was some sort of scheduling with the prosecutor in his schedule, so they have recessed. So testimony is ending today, and they'll resume trial tomorrow morning at 8:30. So as far as what I saw today, well, right now the families are talking. They have been wanting to get their stories out, so they've been talking every day, and they say they will be here every day of the trial. There's 11 of the 18 families represented here, and what they're wanting is their loved ones' stories to be told, because they know that their cases will never see the light of day. They'll never get to go to trial. Billy Chemirmir will never stand trial for the deaths of their loved ones, and so they're very adamant that they want to be heard during this trial. And obviously, one of the biggest concerns is that they're not inside the jury, they're not inside the courtroom, so the jury can't see them. They can't see the jury, and they really wish that they could be in there so that the jury could understand what the families are going through too. So that's what, they were hoping that they would be able to be inside, but they're in an overflow room here at the courthouse because of COVID protocols. They're not allowed inside the courtroom.
Yeah, and that's an extraordinary thing, and it really is due to COVID. I mean,
yeah, and Tanya, I've covered a lot of trials over the years here in Dallas, and one of the crazy things is, honestly, I think this trial is moving at a really rapid pace compared to other capital murder trials that I have covered, and I think part of that is that there's just so much overwhelming evidence that the prosecutors are presenting, and I don't know if you guys touched on this, but I've kind of been stunned a little bit in that the defense really hasn't had much of a defense. Even in their cross-examination, it's hard for them to cross-examine someone who says, yes, that was my loved one's jewelry, and yes, that jewelry was found in Chemirmir's home. And then the keys, to me, the keys were extraordinary, that they found the keys on Chemirmir, but the keys also unlocked, some of those keys unlocked the door to Lou Harris's house. I really hope that at some point they'll explain how those keys got there.
Yeah, I think those are the things that are really difficult to explain, is the keys, the jewelry, the $2 bills. I mean, how do you explain all that stuff? I mean, the jewelry box, the letters, just all of the, and then we're going to also hear from the telephone experts. They're going to bring in experts possibly tomorrow that are going to talk about when they do those data dumps, and they're able to look at his phone and see where they pinged. And I remember when this case first broke, I got the search warrants for some of the evidence and where they were serving some of the warrants, and he had like 5 different cell phones, and so they took all that information off of those cell phones and they did a big data dump, and then they started looking to see where those phones pinged and was he in the locations of where some of these 18 victims were, and some of them, that's how they linked him to the crime scene, is they said that his phone pinged sometimes inside the apartment at the time that they believe the victim died, and then obviously they also linked him to the jewelry. At some places it was pawn shops, another it was places where they were selling gold. So I'm assuming that all of that is going to come up here pretty soon, but this is a very strong case for the prosecution.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, I'm going to chat for a few more minutes with Meredith. Thanks so much for calling in. I think this actually worked pretty well. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's the best alternative I can come up with, other than having some sort of other feed. And we're still working on the technical issues of how to be able to take Rebecca, actually live on video. But we'll get there. So anyway,
All right.
I appreciate it, Rebecca. Thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Hey, so Meredith, your thoughts on what you heard Rebecca say?
Yeah, I hadn't considered the fact that the family wants the jury also to see them. I think that's an important point, is that the family, even though the jury's not supposed to look into the gallery and see the other, in normal trials, the jury doesn't even know there are other victims to look at, but just being there to see the jury, to see the people that are possibly going to put away this guy for life, is also a powerful thing, and it's very emotional, and I'm sure the family is very emotional, and it's a big deal for them.
Yeah, I like I said, we talked earlier. I can understand the anger and the agitation at wanting your story told and not feeling that you're able to tell your story. But I'm very much looking forward to hearing from the cell phone analysis that shows him at these other places, that the stuff that Rebecca was talking about. And I agree that the keys are a big deal.
Yeah, the keys are hard to get around. Nowadays with the cell phone technology, I mean, everyone is convicted by their phone nowadays, it seems. If you want to commit a crime, you better put your phone away, because it's, it's basically tracking you. People talk about vaccines and the trackers and microchips or whatever. Like, you're carrying a microchip with you everywhere you go. It's basically, spying on you every single minute of your life.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that is going to be interesting. And she said he had 5 cell phones. So my mind immediately was like, are they stolen cell phones? Whose
Are
cell
they
phones?
burner cell phones?
Are
Why would
they?
anybody have 5 cell phones?
Why would you be so smart as to wear gloves and not leave any DNA or fingerprints, but then you have 5 cell phones? It doesn't make sense. And not dump them before the police get to you. But that's how people get caught. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear. And that's going to be very dry testimony, but it will be all wrapped up at the end. All these different places and all these different victims.
It's dry, but it's important. It's
It is
part
important.
of it. I was talking to Judge Conyers yesterday. It's a little bit like, again, you're building a house. Yesterday we built the foundation. Today we're building the first floor, and I'm guessing tomorrow we're going to start putting on the roof.
Yeah. Putting the roof on it.
And so I think that's where we're headed. Well, guys, court wrapped up at lunchtime. I'm a little bit, again, kind of blown away. Yesterday we wrapped up at 3:20. I don't think I've ever seen court wrap up the way this has been wrapping up, and I do think it has a lot to do with just the lack of questions that is being asked by the defense. And it'll be interesting to see if that's just a strategy or if they just really got nothing. So I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think, Meredith?
I'll keep my opinions to myself, but I think that you're probably right.
I got nothing?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
do
it's
no
like,
harm?
what can you say? And like Rebecca said, I mean, what are you going to say? That's not your loved one's jewelry with her name on it. I mean, there's very little they can do, but I think they did well with what they had, with what they made of it what they could, and they got into some areas where they could really poke some questions and poke some holes in the prosecution's case, and sometimes that's all you need. I mean, you just need one juror on your side to, have it not guilty, so.
Okay, so guys, we're going to wrap it up for the day. We will be back tomorrow for day 3 of the Billy Chemirmir trial. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on WFAA.com. Also, Fire TV and Roku, I think, is the other one. And tomorrow we'll have former Judge David Finn will be our guest legal analyst. And so it promises to be an interesting day. So join us tomorrow. Thank you.